In the land of Skyrim, there are the Blades, an order that once used to protect the Empire and its Emperor from all over Tamriel. However, since the last Septim turned into a dragon statue and the Thalmor kicked their Akaviri cosplaying asses, the Blades have been more or less lost. That is, until Delphine, a character that everyone loves, finds the last Dragonborn, and the Blades are then reorganized into a force of dragon slayers, just like they were long ago. But when Delphine asks you to recruit 3 people to become members of the Blades, who should you choose? After all, there are dozens upon dozens of followers to choose from. Hello, my fellow hirelings of House Telvanni! I'm Neloth, and today we are going to be answering that exact question in this very video. Now, before I begin, I want to go over some rules for this video. Because yes, I know that Delphine and the Blades are universally disliked because they urge you to kill Paarthurnax, and I'm sure I'll get a lot of fun original comments stating how they refuse to help the Blades. However, you don't have to actually kill Paarthurnax in order to recruit Blade members, as this can be done before you get that specific quest. And if that doesn't satisfy you, well, don't worry, as I'm sure my 78th greatest video is on the way. Additionally, the idea for this video is to find the best followers for the Blades that work from a game perspective, but also from a lore perspective as well. It wouldn't make sense to recruit Farkas into the Blades, as he is a member of the Companions, nor Jazargo, since he is a member of the College of Winterhold, or any of the mercenaries, since, well, that's their profession. After all, when Delphine indoctrinates your first follower into the Blades, she will ask them,
"Are you willing to trade away all claims and titles of your former life, to live here, and devote yourself to protecting Tamriel from danger?"
So with all that being said, let us dive straight into this video. First up is Cosnach. Cosnach is a Breton and a porter for the Arnleif and Sons Trading Company. However, because Forsworn steal almost all of their shipments, Cosnach just stays at the Silverblood Inn and drinks himself into a stupor. Because of this, Cosnach is a drunk without any purpose, and doesn't really offer anything to the city of Markarth aside from giving Klepper a good chunk of his money. And what's interesting about Cosnach is that even though he wears light armor, he actually excels in heavy armor. When you recruit a follower for the Blades, they will wear a full suit of Blades armor as well as a sword and shield unless you give them something better. This means that being a member would not only give him purpose, but his stats of heavy armor, one-handed, and block just fit perfectly with the gear Cosnach will get when he joins the Blades. Cosnach can easily be recruited by beating him in a brawl, and since he caps at level 30, beating him should be pretty easy regardless of your level. However, personally, I like to use Cosnach for darker purposes. Uthgerd the Unbroken. Uthgerd the Unbroken is a Nord woman that resides in the Bannered Mare in Whiterun. Some time ago, Uthgerd the Unbroken attempted to join the Companions, but her temper got the better of her when she was paired up to spar with a young lad who was barely old enough to grow chin hairs. This upset Uthgerd, as she believed the Companions didn't think her strong enough to spar against anyone else. And in her rage, she killed the boy when she was only supposed to spar him, so the Companions rejected her for being too hot-headed. Now she sits at the Bannered Mare drinking and brawling. Now, Uthgerd is quite lost and purposeless, so why not brawl her, get her as a companion, and enlist her so she can use her fury to slay dragons rather than some young lads. And the good thing about Uthgerd is that even though she wields a two-handed greatsword, she actually specializes in one-handed, meaning if she is given a blade sword by Delphine, she will still be as useful if not more effective than before. Illia. Illia is an imperial witch that lives in Darklight Tower with her mother and some other witches, and also a few hagravens. Illia's mother, Sylvia, plans to become a hagraven, but in order to become one, she requires a human sacrifice. So Illia and another witch were sent to find an unsuspecting person to kidnap so they can be murdered. However, before leaving Darklight Tower, she has a come to Talos moment and feels remorse, then outright refusing to go out and kill someone. The other witch attacks Illia, and when the player character meets her, we can see Illia killing that witch. She will explain everything to the player, which will end in both Illia and the player fighting their way up to Sylvia and killing her, ending her vile witchery. But Illia will be quite lost after the death of her own mother and everyone she has known since she lived in Darklight Tower. So instead of letting her sit in the tower she killed her own mother in, why not utilize her ice magics and witchery for good by having her join the Blades? Now, while Illia is a mage that doesn't specialize in one-handed or heavy armor, she can still use her ranged frost magic to do some damage to dragons, especially dragons that breathe fire who have a 25% weakness to frost magic. Although dragons that breathe frost have a 50% resistance to frost magic, so it's a bit of a coin toss. Benor. Benor is a Nord warrior that lives in Morthal and is basically just a local strongman. He does some odd jobs here and there and aspires to become a town guard, but he hasn't been made one, even though he helps them out and even sleeps in the guardhouse. Benor is also one of 5 people who will charge at a vampire lair during the quest, Laid to Rest. But unless he's already your companion, he will flee like a coward with the rest, showing he isn't that brave. But while he may not be as brave as some of the others on this list, he is an individual in search of a job, so why not give him one, in a prestigious order that hunts dragons. Benor specializes in heavy armor but not one-handed weapons, preferring two-handed weapons, so the blade sword he gets won't be that useful, meaning he's probably the weakest on this list, but hey, he's unemployed, so what do you want from me, huh? Golldir. Golldir is a Nord warrior that resides in Hilgrin's Tomb, which is a Nordic tomb east of Whiterun and southwest of Windhelm. Apparently, a Dunmerry necromancer named Vals Varen is attempting to raise all of the Nordic dead in the tomb, and the Draugr inside are the ancestors of Golldir and his aunt Agna. Aunt Agna went inside to stop Vals, but Golldir was afraid to go inside the tomb because his father locked him in the tomb in a drunken rage when he was just a child, and he was trapped inside for 3 days until Aunt Agna saved him. When the player enters Hilgrin's tomb, Golldir will ask for help and the two will venture forth. Sadly, they will find Aunt Agna had been killed inside, leaving Golldir feeling guilt-ridden. But Vals Varen will eventually be found and slain. Afterwards, Golldir says he will stick around the tomb to put his family to rest and also hunt some game outside, but he can also be recruited as a follower. Since Golldir just hangs around a tomb all day, why not give him some actual purpose and recruit him for the Blades? He also specializes in one-handed and heavy armor perks, which you should know by now are perfect for a prospective member of the Blades. Kharjo. Kharjo is a Khajiit that guards a Khajiiti trade caravan led by Akari. This particular caravan stops between Dawnstar and Riften. Now, I know, I said previously that I am naming potential followers who don't really have a purpose or useful profession. And what Kharjo does is quite important, protecting his caravan from the many dangers that litter Skyrim, from wolves to dragons, but I wanted to make an exception to Kharjo for one particular reason. See, the Blades are modeled after the Akaviri, and one of the races from Akavir are the Ka Potun, a race of tiger folk. Now, the relation between these tiger folk and the Khajiit is unknown, and I don't believe the Khapotun have ever set foot on Tamriel, but I really wanted to nail the Akaviri aesthetics in a way that only a Khajiit could provide. You could also go with Jizargo, but he is a member of the College of Winterhold that is pretty devoted to his studies and would likely not renounce his ties. While Kharjo is just your average guard. Okay, not that average. Also, Kharjo's primary skills are one-handed and heavy armor, which makes him more suited to getting the Blades armor and sword. If you wish to get Kharjo as a follower, all you have to do is reclaim his moon amulet from bandits and give it back to him. The amulet once belonged to his mother when he was a young cub and is his only memory of her, so naturally he will be so thankful that he will give you not only gold, but his services as a warrior as well. So why not utilize his warrior skills to bring down dragons and make people believe the Khapotun are invading Tamriel? Erandur. Erandur is a Dunmer and a priest devoted to Mara, the goddess of agriculture and love. However, Erandur's past is quite complicated. See, Erandur was not always his name. He was once known as Casimir and was part of a cult of Daedra worshippers dedicated to the Daedric prince Vermina, Prince of Dreams and Nightmares. He lived in Nightcaller Temple with his brothers and sisters of Vermina, and while we never know exactly what these cultists did, Erandur admits that he practiced black magic and killed more people than he cares to admit. At one point, Nightcaller Temple was overrun by orc raiders whose dreams were being plagued by Vermina, and in an act of desperation, the devotees of Vermina chose to release the miasma, a purple gas that forces any mortal to fall into a deep sleep for years, if not decades or even centuries. And the miasma also slows the aging process and has the potential to cause a bit of brain damage or just turn people insane or just outright killing them. Casimir, as he was known back then, was chosen to release the miasma, but instead of staying with his brothers and sisters and letting the gas take him, he fled, and has been guilt-ridden ever since. The player can aid Erandur in thwarting Vermina, who had been using an artifact called the Skull of Corruption in Nightcaller Temple to plague the dreams of everyone in Dawnstar. And after studying at the library, tripping Molag's balls and having an out-of-body experience, and then slaying Erandur's old friends Thorek and Varen, you will be left with a choice. You can either listen to Vermina and kill Erandur, taking the Skull of Corruption for yourself, or allow Erandur to use his holy rites and banish the Skull of Corruption from Tamriel, for a little while anyway. I typically save Erandur as he's one of the more unique followers in the game, on par, in my opinion, with Serana and Freya, and the Skull of Corruption isn't that great of a staff anyways. If you refuse to kill Erandur, he will offer his services to you, so why not allow this priest of Mara to truly seek redemption by joining the Blades and slaying dragons? Now, while Erandur is of the priest class, meaning he is not proficient in either one-handed or heavy armor, he is the only follower on this list who can go higher than level 30, having a max level of 50. And he is gifted in restoration magic, meaning if a dragon screams him out of a fight, he will get a second wind going and keep on fighting. Erandur is one of my favorite companions in the game, with one of the more complex and unique backstories, and a good bit of unique dialogue as well, and I feel that he is destined for far more than tending a little shrine of Mara in a ruined fort. Now, when you have inducted 3 followers into the Blades, you will then be able to go on missions to slay dragons. Typically, this behaves similar to a dragon contract you get from stewards and innkeepers, but this time you have your Fellowship of the Blade in tow. Now, these missions are not extremely interesting and will likely get old after the second mission, so it's not like you'll be using these new Blade followers very often unless you're role-playing as a die-hard Blade. This is why I prefer to choose followers that seem a bit purposeless or lost rather than particularly strong followers, because you're likely not going to use them that much. Recruiting people for the Blades is sort of just another check mark on your list of things to do, and pebbles to acquiring more power, be it magical or political. Of the candidates I mentioned, my preferred 3 would have to be Erandur, Kharjo, and Illia, each satisfying a specific role: a healer, warrior, and mage. And that's all I wrote! A video where I recommend individuals to join the once famous Blades. I remember getting asked to do this video a very long time ago, so to whoever suggested it, you're welcome, I guess. Now I want to give a shout out to my members who aren't part of the Blades, but something much bigger and better: House Telvanni. And those members are Mirak, Sovdark, Conarunda, Nork, Will Ernst, The Proud Prince, Deadpool Maoista, Skooma Addict, JJ Ensid, Ranger McKay, Grud, and Milani Stilla. And if you would like to see my videos earlier by either 24 hours or even 3 days, then consider becoming a member. All members get early access, and Oathman and Mouths will get shoutouts at the beginning or end of almost every video. So with all that being said, make sure to like the like button, like the subscribe button, and like the bell notification down below to be updated on future videos. And I will see you whenever the fuck I decide to upload again. House Telvanni be with you.
Please, O hero of Skyrim, I shall be ever so grateful.